Welcome to the Backpacking and Blisters podcast. With me today is Ben McAuliffe. How's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm excited we're going to have Dan Durston on our show. Cutting edge gear that's been released with more to come. So we'll get to that here in a couple minutes. But he's somebody who's like not afraid to revolutionize the gear industry. So I got to ask you, man. For you, what's the next step for any piece of backpacking gear that nobody has thought of so far?
Well, I was looking at Durston's stuff, and he had a trekking pole, which you're going to ask him about. And so I'm thinking next level stuff is like, why don't we just kind of have a glove that you just kind of fit on the trekking pole? So we'll see what he thinks of that, maybe, you know?
So your like, cutting edge gear is a glove.
Yeah. Well, you have a glove, don't you, that you invented? Are you making fun of my glove?
It just sounds like it's a glove. What's that? Like
it's a glove. It's a glove that's like mounted on the trekking pole.
Oh, mounted.
So yeah.
Mounted. Okay. I was like, what?
Yeah. Sorry,
okay.
I forget that part.
Yeah, you said a glove that fits on a trekking pole. Like you can wear it and it'll actually grab the trekking pole.
Has nobody made gloves before?
Do they have that already? A glove mounted to a trekking pole?
I think where it's colder, but I don't know. Like mine's just more.
Is that the scenario? Is it's cold outside, and so whenever you are done trekking, you want to take your hands out of your gloves?
I don't know. Mine is just like you just don't want to not hold your trekking pole. Like I like the straps, and so maybe a glove like just forms it, so you can rest your hands inside the glove.
Okay. Well, we have the honor of being the flagship podcast for Enlightened Equipment, so that is who's bringing you this episode. If you're looking for ultralight custom quilts that can help you get your base weight down, then go to enlightenedequipment.com. All right, so Bible verse of the episode, is that you or me this time?
That's you.
2 Timothy 3:17. That the man of God may be complete, equipped for every good work. Does cutting-edge gear help equip us for good works?
Yeah. I mean, when you're out in the field doing mission work or doing whatever, doesn't good gear help you? I mean, you know, I live out in the sticks, and so if I don't have the right equipment, man, is it a chore to like do certain things?
So what you're saying is you use your gear. Your gear allows you to do work or, in the case of backpacking, have an adventure. Whereas others might go on an adventure or go on a backpacking trip so that they can use their gear.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, would you rather just use your backpack that you normally backpack with, or a plastic bag to carry all your gear?
Definitely plastic bag. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's really what you want. Okay.
Point made.
I'll hold you to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe there's going to be some sort of revolutionary plastic bag that Durston's got in store for us. This ultralight that will be an efficient way to carry stuff, right? So we're going to find out.
65-liter plastic bag.
That's right. All right. So we'll find out if that is true coming up right now. With us today is a man who continues to revolutionize the gear industry with innovative designs. Dan Durston, how's it going today?
Hey, awesome. Great to be here.
Hey, man, we're excited you're back on the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Where are you sitting right now? Like, it looks like a classroom.
This is my office. I decorated the wall behind just for this podcast, so it doesn't look as like insane asylum. It was just a white room. The picture was there, but I just put the map up so I look cooler for you guys.
So it makes it look like you're more legit.
Yeah, I'm trying to look legit. You know, like I just quickly changed out of my suit and tie to get the outdoor clothes on. And
Did you really put the map on the wall for the podcast?
we're actually moving office next door right now. And so they were abandoned here. And today I was like, oh, these poor maps. So I did put it up today, but it wasn't really for the podcast.
Awesome. Is it a local map, or is it like a map of like
Yeah,
Europe?
it's here in the Canadian Rockies. Yeah. Oh. We're based in Golden, BC, just above Montana. And this is basically our small workshop, warehouse, office kind of.
All right, what's your craziest backpacking experience? If you can keep it kind of short, we can't go the whole podcast, but
kind of short. Like dangerous, like almost dying type thing.
Whatever you think's like a crazy backpacking experience.
One of the craziest was the first time I went pack rafting. I go pack rafting. I got this pack raft. I got it in the Christmas sale, so I get it in January. Like there's nowhere warm to pack raft here in Canada in January, but in February this river had opened up, so it was just sort of. You could paddle it, but it was ice cold. I get out there and I've got this brand new boat. It's not that backcountry, but it's side country. And I've never paddled a kayak paddle before, so the blades are twisted. So you're trying to paddle, but you're like catching air essentially.
Yeah.
I go around and it's kind of terrifying. You're on the water. You don't really know what's coming. I'm new to this. You're kind of not sure about how to assess hazards. And I come around this corner and there's like a tree across the river. I'm not totally sure what to do. And I try to sort of paddle for shore, but I'm just like catching air with this paddle because I've got the blade twisted all the wrong way. I sort of do make it to shore, but I should have just dove onto the shore. But I grabbed this like rock and it was in sort of a gravel bed. So I grabbed this rock and it just like, I dropped my paddle, grabbed the rock, and the rock just like pulls out of the bank and I get spun like backwards going into this tree.
Okay.
So this is pretty dangerous. It's poor style to go through strainers, especially by yourself in the backcountry. So I'm backwards going to this tree. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just like dive overboard to try to go under this tree. The river's not that deep. I did make it through the tree. So I pop up. It happens like so fast and so dramatic. You can't really like give the experience of going through the tree. But I like get out. I swim to the shore. My boat's like stuck in the tree. I eventually like my paddle comes floating down, so I have to jump into the river again. It's like this brand new $400 paddle.
Oh my gosh!
Jump into this February river, grab the paddle, get out, and the raft is like filling up with water in the main area. Eventually, it gets enough weight that it squirts through the tree. This took like 5 minutes because I had to walk back up the bank and I filled up. Jump into the river. Third time, I'm like drenched. Well, obviously drenched, but like ice cold. Drag this boat out of the river. Everything's soaked. And then I kind of didn't know it at the time, but the tree was actually like pretty traumatic. And I had like bruises like all over my body because I would have just been like forced through like branches. So super sketchy.
Okay.
Did you keep the rock?
No, it was like a big boulder that just fell into the river.
You said you grabbed it. I'm imagining you holding it like, while you're going under the tree. Like this will sink me so I can squirt under the tree. That's what I was thinking.
That would be a good idea. If I would have been a little more present and got kind of, I mean, I should have just bailed out. But if I would have been facing the right way, I could have tried to jump over the tree. Right. But you're just like
a video game. That's what I was thinking. Like Mario Brothers, you just kind of jump up and over.
Yeah. So that was super sketchy for sure.
Yeah.
Would not want to do that again.
On the surprising side, that boulder sounds like it was really heavy. Was still lighter than Ben's pack on a backpacking trip. So imagine that. Yeah. All right. So you're soaking wet. You're on the bank of the river. I don't know what the temperature, like the ambient air temperature is, but did you have to like start a fire? Did you change clothes? What was your how did you survive this?
Yeah, I had parked my car at the end and hiked for like an hour or two upstream. And so when I was out, everything's drenched. I sort of wrung out my coat, but it's still like, it was, I would think it would be below freezing. Like maybe it was like 25 F. And so,
wow.
And so, but I knew actually from the Bob Open the year before that you can do pretty well by keeping moving and like generating body heat. So I just like kind of grabbed my stuff, shoved it in the backpack, and then I'm just like speed walking. And you're like shivering for like 45 minutes, but eventually you sort of warm up and get to your car. And
Bear Grylls teaches us that if you just start doing push-ups, get the blood moving.
That's true.
Know,
there's a lot of really good information Bear Grylls does. A lot. So all right.
Yep.
Glad you're okay and glad you were close enough to your car. So that's that's a crazy story right there. All right. And it sounds like it was kind of like boom, boom, boom. Okay, it's been about a year since you were on our show last, and in that time, I think you've had 2 big releases for Durston gear here. So release number 1 is you put out some new trekking poles that I was checking out from afar. So can you tell us about those?
Yeah, I brought one here. They're cool. Like they're kind of something that from afar they just look like kind of like a trekking pole, but they're so light. It's like when people pick these up, everybody smiles when they pick them up. Yeah, so we sell trekking pole tents, obviously.
Right.
And a natural fit with that would be trekking poles. We could sell them, could have been selling them for a long time, but there's really 2 tiers of trekking poles. There's like high-end quality poles from like respected brands, Black Diamond, Comperdell, Lecky, like that kind of thing. And then there's sort of this like cheap class, which are totally fine poles too, but they're often kind of white labeled, where factories in all over the world, Asia essentially, will have a bunch of poles and companies will just slap their logo on them and they're fine. They work fine. But it's kind of boring as a product.
You totally sound believable when you're like, yeah, they're fine, they work. Like you're like not believable at all.
Well, what they are is like for the money. Like if you just want to spend $50,
Right.
there's a
right.
pretty big price difference.
Yeah.
There's like $60 poles, and then there's like $200 poles.
For
Right.
sure.
And I wouldn't sort of like, I don't know what the word is, behoove somebody. Is that a word? I don't know, but
yeah.
I wouldn't be sort of malign somebody for wanting an affordable pole.
Right.
And because they're pretty good. Like
Right.
they're not like going to be like awesome or like the best experience. They're not going to be the quality and the lightest and things like that, but they're going to work.
Right.
So for a lot of people that does make sense. But we didn't want to just. I think it would kind of dilute the brand if we just put our logo on kind of mediocre stuff.
Okay.
So I wanted to actually design a quality pole, and for a long time I didn't know how do you make a trekking pole better? They're all like, you feel like it's kind of been done because it's like a pole. You're like,
Yeah, like a stick.
some tubing handle, like, you know, is there any innovation left?
There's always I always feel like that's true, and then somebody comes out with some sort of new thing, like which is kind of what you did, where that's not true, right?
Like the curved trekking poles that they have, you know.
There's some crazy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the whatever pacer pole handles and things like that.
Right.
Eventually, what I realized on poles, I was thinking about them for like years, and what I came to realize from looking at hiking poles and looking at running poles, that you saw quite a bit of innovation on running poles. There'd be all these they'd rapidly deploy, and they'd have like quick connections, and
Right.
things like that. But they weren't actually lighter because they have so many sections and they have a cable down the middle. It's kind of like an avalanche probe.
Right.
But some of that technology is stuff that you don't see on a hiking pole. Hiking poles were almost all a 3-piece pole with 2 adjusters, and your kind of big decision was like twist lock or like a flick lock, like external adjuster.
Right.
So I thought, well, why don't we pull basically a running style adjuster into the pole, replace the second adjuster with a simpler thing. So the top one is an external adjuster, so it's like super simple and reliable. And then that's essentially it. So you're just using this. And then at the lower brake, we've got this simpler quick connect mechanism where you just push a button and it ejects the tip. Okay. So it's super positive. It can't slip because there's actually like it clicks together. There's parts that like butt.
Oh.
So day to day, you just use it like a 2-piece. But if you want to use it away or bring it on an airplane or in your luggage or go bushwhacking, you can actually still pack the pole away. And so that was the first idea. And then you start looking at poles and you realize there's actually more like weight savings than you would think. Like there was on a grip, some of the poles have like, this sounds nerdy, but like 7 grams of glue to put on the grip.
Really?
Where it's like, because the tolerances are kind of large. So they basically just sort of fill the gap with the glue, but the glue's way heavier than the foam. So you're like, well, if we just make the grip fit tighter, you don't actually need, it's like wood glue. Like you're supposed to have 2 pieces that fit together and you should have a thin layer of glue. You could take 2 poorly fitting pieces and a big thick layer of glue, but it's like, it's clumsy and it's not going to be strong and it's light. And
But they're not using wood glue on the trekking pole, just to clarify.
we are not. I wish. Yeah.
Okay.
Wood's
You're
made-
using ultralight glue, right?
we have the world's lightest glue.
Okay.
We didn't invent any new, but we did make the grip fit tighter to use a few grams less glue. This saves some weight. The really high end carbon saves weight.
I mean, that it's crazy to think like how much you like weigh everything for ultralight. Like it's like, well, the glue is this much, you know, the lacquer is this much. Like I would just think like, I mean, obviously this is why I'm not a manufacturer, because I would just spray and put glue in there and like be like, hey guys, the bigger the glob, the better the job. Hold it tight, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a core, like for ultralight, there's a core sort of way of thinking that is interesting. If you think about each decision individually, you're like, it's a gram, you know, this rain jacket's 20 grams more, big deal. I can carry 20 grams, of course. This, you know, any one decision doesn't break the camel's back. So if you make every decision individually, none of them are a big deal. You could choose the other way on any given decision, but collectively, I went through this where like I had my pack pretty light at like 8 pounds, and then I was like, oh, I can go a little heavier on the rain jacket, a little warmer. Wow. And then all of a sudden, like years go by of just sort of this habit of just like a little more weight's fine, big deal. And then you're like, well, I'm at like 12 pounds instead of 8. It adds up, creeps up over time. So I mean, I'm still nerdy and all that, but it does add up.
I know this has been discussed before, but I didn't actually read the commentary on this, but for me, when I use trekking poles, I heavily lean on the strap, and yours don't have straps. And I know that you've gotten questions or comments about that. So what's the line of thinking on that?
Yeah, great. straps are one of those topics that I sort of wandered into a bit naively, where I did not realize people were as passionate about it's like Mac versus PC or something, where you're like,
that's right, strap or no strap.
People use their poles in different ways. There's an argument for both. The argument, I'll give you kind of the both sides of the argument. The argument that I have is that, like, for hiking, I'm not putting a lot of power down.
Okay.
Like, as you're putting more and more power down, you have to squeeze harder so that it doesn't slip. So if you were like trail running, or you were cross country skiing, where you're like really pushing at a high intensity,
that's what I was doing. Yeah.
I can totally see the strap.
I was. I'm being serious.
I believe you. I just picture you like really pushing down on the poles.
One of the scooper hikers. Here he comes. Everybody get out of the way. Carl's coming through. Serious hiker.
That's right.
So certainly if you're high intensity, you want a strap. Other applications like downhill skiing, people sometimes use straps, but you're not really pushing at all. And then sometimes it's nice to be able to let go of them if like you're crashing and that kind of thing. I find for me that the amount of power I'm actually putting down on a sustained basis is low enough that I don't find it tiring to hold the grip. And then I like the simplicity of it, where I can just grab them and go. I'm not like putting my hand in every time I stop, or taking a photo, putting it out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If I get it caught on like the log slats on a bridge, I can just let go. So I prefer without them. I do see how if somebody is like putting power down, it is technically more efficient, and you can transfer that. I can stop using your hand muscles and just put it directly on the wrist. I thought probably all my sort of good ultralight hikers, probably most of them would be on my side and not use straps. I thought maybe 70% of people were non-strap. And I think it's actually the other way around. It's more like 30% are non-strap and 70% do want strap.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So that was a big debate. Like, we launched these polls, and the number one conversation topic by far was like, no straps. Like, oh my goodness. Like, how do I put the straps on?
Yeah, right.
Is that more because you're like, I mean, you're like setting trends here. You're trying to teach people like you don't need straps.
Yeah, the enlightened.
And people like them. Like, I like the straps because for me, it's just, I don't know why, like a false security. Like, if I fall,
they're training wheels.
Poles aren't going to go anywhere. They're yeah, exactly.
Internally, we joke that it's the strap version is the training wheel edition.
It's a training wheel edition. Yeah. That's hilarious.
I hope do you sell them like that? I'm like, you want straps? It's like, I hope you sell them as like training wheel trekking.
You know, like the kids' mittens, where you got the two mittens and you got the string that runs right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
I'm not so dogmatic about it that we're like, no, we're never going to make a version with straps. I've said we are making a version with straps when they're back in stock, and in 3 weeks we will have a strap version. And you can still, I'm kind of being a purist on it too, because you can still, on the strap version, which I don't have here, but there's a pin, and you can push it out and you can remove the strap. So it's not like, if you want to take the training wheels off later, you can do that.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Okay, well, congrats on the trekking poles for sure.
So tell us about your new tent now. We saw some great responses, and it looked cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's a tent that I've been working on for a long time, because obviously the X-Mid tents have been huge for us, and I've been passionate about how the layout, it's kind of hard to explain on the podcast, but the layout makes a tent work inside of a simpler rectangle shape, using a non-rectangular floor, and you can fit the vestibules inside. So you simplify the shape, and that has some advantages for trekking pole tents, like making it simpler to pitch. And it also has advantages for freestanding tents.
Right.
And one of the main advantages is that on a lightweight freestanding tent, normally a pole set is just going to go to the four corners. So the fly will usually be a hexagon, where the poles just go to the four corners, and then you have to stake out the vestibules. So there's downsides there where, like, the vestibules hang off tent pads, you have to stake them out. And also, if you don't have the tent interior, if you have the four pole corners, but the floor is not there to hold them, they just want to spring out because the sides are not in line. Yeah. So if you try, the core problem is that almost all those tents pitch with the interior first, the rectangle interior, so that it holds the poles, and then you throw the hexagon fly over top. And from being like involved all over the world, you see that in North America, that's how tents usually are, is this inner first pitch where the poles clip to the interior, and then you throw the fly on. In other parts of the world, people think that's crazy. Like in Northern Europe, where it's raining a lot, like in the UK, they're like you're just going to get your interior drenched when you set it up. I wanted to make a tent that kind of, obviously we're trying to make a tent that's like better at everything, but I was trying to make a tent that could essentially do either, because I recognize that people do want to set up interior first. So like beautiful night, you can just pitch the interior. That's a great thing. But I also totally understand how if it's pouring rain, you don't want to start with the interior. So how do we make a tent that couldn't just do either? A lot of tents will say they can do both, but usually it's these inner first pitching tents where you got to bring a ground sheet or you got to bring straps, and you have to buy this extra thing and remember to bring it and remember how to use it. And it's pouring rain and you're still sort of crawling under, and it just like realistically doesn't happen because it's not a natural, intuitive way of using the tent. Whereas with the XMID floor plan, because it's simpler and the fly is a rectangle, then you can have essentially one of the key things with our new tent is that it can pitch naturally in any order, fly first, inner first. The inner can be pre-connected, so it pops up as one, or it can go up separately. However you want to pitch the tent, it's just going to work. You almost don't need a pitching video for it because it's kind of like whatever you try to do, with a few exceptions. Whatever you try to do is pretty much...
You don't know me very well, Dan. You don't know me.
Yeah, you could. There are ways of doing it wrong. So it solves that. And it sort of has the best of both, like North American style and European style. You can do either one. Another big thing is the polyester. As far as I know, it's the only like really light freestanding polyester tent. There's all sorts of polyester tents, and it depends on your definition of light, of course. There's like 3 pound, 3-4 pound polyester tents for sure, but we have what might be the lightest kind of tent fabric, polyester tent fabric. There's a bunch of usability things, like how the vestibules are beside the door instead of blocking it. It's truly freestanding. Like all the freestanding tents, you still stick on the vestibules, which you can do here, but you can go 0 stakes and still have a vestibule. And other cool things, like you can still add trekking poles to make it even stronger. And you're also, one of the cool things, you're getting these lighter carbon fiber poles because we don't sell through retailers. So we can basically put more money into making the product instead of having to keep it affordable. We can keep it more affordable because we just don't have other people marking it up. So you get lighter Easton carbon poles and it still costs less than all the aluminum tents on the market. I'm excited about it.
Can we talk about the poles real quick? Because we have, you sent out like a pre-production model to our good buddy Steven Smith from My Live Outdoors, and so he put out a video about that became controversial. Where basically you had one model, he was actually supposed to send it on to Dan Becker, and then in the process he like destroyed it, and he took full responsibility. He's like, this is my fault. I, added a piece to it, the little tent pole helper sleeve, which is going to add tension onto the carbon fiber poles, which is not supposed to be there, which is going to further destroy the poles. And so he messed it up, but he still put the video out. And I think it caused some anger rage from your fans, who then like immediately jumped to your defense and like got really mad at this video. Like, did I get the story right?
Yeah, that's it, right. Like, we have amazing fans. We love our fans. They're passionate, and they do come to our defense, and they mean well. And maybe there's a couple that go a little, there's a spectrum there. So a lot of them are great, and there's a few on the edges that can maybe take things too far. But we had, for that we had a pre-production pole set that did have a glue issue. It was with the aluminum part, which I should preface this by saying that the carbon poles are kind of like the straps, where it's like very controversial, or more, at least more than you would think. Everybody thinks they're like out to like fly to the moon on this thing, and they're gonna survive a hurricane. Like, carbon poles, the little inserts are aluminum, and they glue into place. Where normally there's a machine.
Not with wood glue. No wood glue in that one either, right?
Not, if only. So we glue them in, and then we did not try to save glue weight. But when we build a pre-production set, they don't use the machines. They're not like a machine. In production, there's a machine that glues them properly, puts it in, they dry, and then every pull gets tested.
Right.
On the pre-production set, I'm not sure exactly how it's made, but it's probably some guy or gal just like squirting them in there, and usually it works, but not every time. So it was a pre-production pull set. Okay. One of the aluminum things did come out, and then Steven attempted a repair, which was totally well intended. It just ended up not really. It ended up being problematic. Basically what it is, it was a much stronger, it was a larger tube, so it was intended for a larger pole. And larger poles are much stiffer, like on a winter tent.
Right.
So the tubing has almost no flex, where if you have a sleeve that's got a little bit of flex, it can distribute that load, just like how when you bend a pole, it sort of everywhere is equally flexing. But if you put a rock solid tube and bend, it's locked out all the flex inside the tube, and it's all just it's all just pressuring right on those two edges at the end of the pipe. So it's just like if you put a stick in a metal pipe and you bend it, it's just right on. You're just essentially trying to kink it. So a lot of, I think almost any lightweight pole is going to break like that. It was well intended, but and definitely didn't look great because it looks like it breaks easy, and it does break easy in that circumstance. It's like, it does break easy because it is a sharp edge. Yeah, that wasn't a good look for the tent. So I know there's a lot of drum there, but carbon really is stronger for the weight than aluminum. And it's just what you want to do with that. Do you want to take that and make a pole set that's about the same strength but lighter? Or do you want to make it about the same weight, stronger? So, yeah, I mean, it really is a strong pole set. We do have another YouTuber that just did a wind test with it in some pretty extreme conditions. And then, it did much better. He was quite happy with how it worked. And when he got it, pretty extreme winds, when there was a bit of damage, it was actually aluminum, like some of the aluminum parts that started to bend a little bit, like the carbon, even then, and in quite extreme conditions, the carbon was fine. So it's also not like we're the first to use this carbon. This carbon has been used in tents for 20 years. It's just everyone. Yeah. So the carbon's good. It wasn't a good look for our tents, but
I think in the end, he ended up being a fan of the tent as well. And it's, and most people, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most people aren't typically taking their tents into extreme wind conditions. Certainly some people are, or maybe they might encounter those, but I can't tell you how many times I've had extreme, I'm on a mountain pass camped out wind.
Yeah, that's a tough one because people like to buy stuff for the worst scenario that they sort of imagine they might be in.
Right.
And even if they're in that scenario, you'd like to think you'd put in a little bit of thought. I'm in a crazy storm. Maybe I should go somewhere more sheltered than this, pitching it right on the ridge or something like that.
Right.
So for sure. Most people are kind of, I don't want to say fear-based, but you buy sort of, oh no, what's going to happen? I want to, I feel more comfortable with something stronger. But it also, the reality is it never ends. There's always a heavier tent that's even stronger. So it is a trade-off. And that's something we talk about in our design philosophies. Stuff's trade-offs. It's not this. I think it's crazy when companies we made no compromises, solved every compromise, because it's everything's a compromise.
Right.
The biggest tent's not the lightest tent, and the strongest tent's not the lightest tent, and all that kind of stuff. So you have to choose what's reasonable, and that's hard on the internet when everybody's gonna this will get you killed, or
right.
I would never use that. Where I'm from, the winds are 200 kilometers an hour every day, and.
But you mentioned the risky nature of the feedback that might come with various ratings or how you might label something online, but really online is your friend. That's where people are grabbing their pitchforks and surrounding anybody who says anything bad about your gear. So I would just take this opportunity right now and say we are fans of Dan Durston and his gear. So you can come to our defense anytime somebody tries to jack us up, but just want to put that out there.
Yeah, give the fans a secret wink and they can doing something terrible on your podcast or
we're not doing anything terrible.
He's totally afraid of your fans. Yeah.
Another scandal on the backpacking.
Another one.
Yeah.
Another one.
Those guys again? They're still on the air? Well, they're going through a lot of hosts.
Not the first one, just another one. Oh my gosh.
I don't even want to know what look the last one, but I just move my finger on there.
Have you noticed, Dan, that it's probably after you're on the show that there's a new co-host, right? You're the catalyst that does it. About the freestanding tent, I was listening to a podcast a while back, and somebody actually asked you if you had a freestanding tent in the market, and you said no. Carl, you remember that? I think you were asking the question.
So what happened last year was, when we have somebody who's innovative such as yourself on the show, I'm not afraid to make suggestions for future gear that you might invent. And I suggested a trekking pole freestanding tent.
Mm-hmm.
I think my suggestion was with 4 trekking poles, so it'd be for a 2-person. They both have trekking poles. And at first you said it was impossible, and then you said you're working on it. So I don't know where that landed. But all I know is a year later, you don't have that out, but you do have a freestanding tent out, so you're halfway there. So I got 2 more ideas for you. You ready for these?
Yeah.
All right. So one's tent based.
These are trademarked though. These are trademarked, Dan.
These are not.
So you can't steal these ones.
You can take these. And you've kind of already spoken to some aspects of this already. So it seems like the most efficient way to, for ultralighters have their gear is you want to have multiple uses for items. That's why the trekking pole tent is so genius, because you're using the trekking pole obviously for two different things, and you're cutting your weight down on the tent. So my thought is like, well, not everybody uses trekking poles. Like I don't use them when I'm backpacking. So what if we take this thought to the next level, and rather than having everything be focused on multiple uses, we just use the stuff around us. So could you design a tent that has adjustable clips, like the clip sizes adjust, so that instead of putting trekking poles or carbon fiber tent poles in there, you could just put like really long sticks in there, and those could be the poles of the tent.
It's brilliant for sure.
That's believable, Dan. Totally believable.
Aside from that, the kind of land managers in national parks might have issues with sort of people harvesting the structure for their tent every night.
That's true.
Aside from that,
you put it back.
I have forgotten my trekking poles and used sticks or tied to rocks for trekking tents. Okay. You can do it. What you find, and this is probably more of a nerdy answer than we really intended to get into, but what you find is that what tends to work well is to break it to the right length. Okay. But any stick that you can sort of break easily tends to be a little too flexy to like work well on the tent. Right. If it's
you got to use
30
green
tent,
wood,
you're probably not just like breaking it either.
Okay.
And then you do break it. Oh, if it's a hard one to break, you go to break it, and it like you think it's going to break in the middle, and it breaks like over on the edge or something like that. You're like, no.
Oh, yeah, Dan, we don't break them. We got a 1-inch knife that we cut.
Okay, you guys are bushcrafters.
So we don't break.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
You could use the sticks.
Okay. My second invention, I actually have a prototype to show you. A lot of people bring some sort of tool out into the backcountry. They bring, whether it's just a knife or some bring like the Leatherman or the tool or whatever. But again, two uses for things, right? So I have invented something called the tool glove right here. I have ingeniously attached 5 useful tools to the fingers of a glove, so it keeps your hand warm, and you got 5 tools. Yeah. What do you think about that?
That is amazing. So when you're putting in a screw, you just use your pinky.
Right.
What do you put screws into in the back?
That's always what I ask. I ask that to everybody when he shows this tool.
Out of all of these things, we get the apple peeler, we have the plasticware knife, the pencil, and then the metal fork. The screwdriver is the one that caught your eye there.
Well, I could use the plastic fork. I'd be in for that.
Yeah, he uses the screwdriver to take the straps off his trekking poles now.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. It's a beautiful invention. It's like an ergonomic jackknife. Instead of having all your tools locked into this metal chamber, you've got them accessible. So definitely you should patent that.
Well, I'm not an entrepreneur, so I'm happy to license it out. And really, it would probably just take a couple Snickers bars if you want to license this to mass market it. That plus the stick tent too. So just throw it out there. You don't have to answer right now. You can think about it.
Yeah, you want like net for royalties, or what are we talking?
Just the Snickers bars are good. I would take that. Yeah. And that probably wouldn't even cover the cost of me sending this to you, but you could probably come up with something. So just saying.
I bet you Dan already has it in the works. He's just being like sly, like, because he's like, oh, interesting, a screwdriver on it, because he's like, mine has a screwdriver on the pointer finger, not the pinky.
Are you tied to the apple peeler, or can we put in like a tent stake? You could just sit there and stake your tent all night.
We had somebody from Alone on, and I was suggesting that he bring it, like he should have had this as one of his 10 items on the show alone. And he wanted to swap out something for like what was it, like a dough roller or whatever? A rolling pin.
Oh, yeah.
Rolling pin.
Yeah. Rolling pin, yeah.
If you want to go like 2.0, like the training wheels version, like we could make it where it's interchangeable parts for sure.
Yeah.
So just something to think about.
Wait till you see the other glove. I have them on both hands. So.
Since you've been on, we now have a new segment called the Lightning Round, where
I love these. Yeah.
Oh, he's heard of it.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Well, no, I can imagine it's wonderful. It's a chance to kind of speak before you think, and then say something dumb.
Some of these questions are simple, some may not be. I don't know. We'll have to find out. I never know what Ben's questions are going to be, but. Yeah, so you've got a minute to answer as many questions as you can, and I think Alice Ford, who was one of our last guests on, she's gotten the most. She got 13, I believe, right, Ben?
Was it 13? I know it was up there, but 12,
Okay.
13, something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, something like that. We'll confirm.
Yeah.
We'll confirm. But
Is
either
this
way,
like a right answer thing, or is this a long?
it's like a
it's
lot of
like-
opinion questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like what's your favorite color is not one of the questions, but it'd be a question like
Yeah.
that, and then you just gotta.
yeah,
answer.
something really thought out like that.
Well, you'll see. You'll see. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready. Ready. So minute 13 score to beat.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Why do you think the Earth is flat?
Because of asteroid impacts.
Okay. All right. What's your favorite trail snack?
Snickers.
Yes.
How many cargo pants do you own?
0. 1 pair of shorts.
What's the most impressive non-Durston gear out there?
Ooh, for your guys, hard questions. Blowing my time.
That's all right.
Zen baby.
Yes. Okay.
Favorite coffee?
Anything with a French roast. Like dark with the beans are shiny.
All right. How much do you bench press?
I am 140 was kind of my peak. I haven't done it recently.
How many aliens have you seen?
0.
Where is one of your next trips taking place?
I only backpack in the Canadian Rockies pretty much these days. It's just too good.
All right. And time. All right.
Oh,
Not good. I blew too much time with the animated innovation one.
I got 4.
We got 8 total, so you're actually tied for second place with a couple other folks who got 8 as well.
That's average.
13 was
Okay.
it's a pretty high standard. We probably even shouldn't even say
Yeah.
that person got 13 because that scares people off.
Yeah, I think it's third place.
Okay.
I think we got 9. Was it 9? Yeah.
We should talk about this.
'Cause
Let's argue which place he has right out in front of him. Why? Okay,
Yeah.
Ben, why did you ask that question out the gate about flat Earth? We're telling him it's going to be like an easy question. Like, what's your favorite color? And you're like, why are you a flat earther? You're like accusing him with your question.
Well, I want to get his listeners involved, and they'll be like, Dan Durston, controversial. He thinks the Earth's flat. So,
Yeah, now
Dan,
the pitchforks
now's the
come
time.
out.
Do you think the Earth is flat, or where do you stand on that?
I think you should word the question where it sounds bad either way. Like Ben, do you still believe the Earth is flat? Yes or no?
There you go. That's the. All right. Dan, would you like to replace Ben as the co-host moving forward?
Does it pay pretty well?
Not as well as Durston gear, probably, but it does include a lot of Snickers. A lot.
Does he ask this question every time? Like, now I know why there's a co-host every time after Dan comes on
You
the
can
show.
tell this is Ben's last episode.
That's right. We're gonna say farewell to Ben here a
He's
little
desperate
bit.
for a new-
Beginning to the end.
That's right.
Can you do a poll on the thing and all our fans can vote to kick Ben out of the podcast?
Oh.
We like Ben. We're just giving you a hard time,
We,
Ben.
we need a Ben or
Yeah.
Carl post, like a poll.
No, it's
Yeah.
it's not going to work. I've seen his fans and how they react, and now that Dan's like, let's outspend. That's all the fans are going to be. Are going to be like,
I know.
yeah, this host is horrible. Do you guys even know how? Does he know how to use a microphone?
Yeah.
We've asked a lot of past stuff, but what do you got in the works coming up here?
Yeah, we are. I'm so excited about gear. We're always working on stuff. Our big line is the X-Mid tent, so we're always working on that. We're going to have some announcements on that in the coming months. It's something I see as kind of an advantage of our company is our ability to constantly innovate and update. As soon as you're through retailers, you're tied to at least product years. Like you can't put a product in REI and they just stocked up, and then 2 months later you're like, we have a new version, and REI is like, what the heck? Like now we have obsolete stock.
yeah.
So at the very least, like bigger companies are tied to like model years, but usually
Right.
year updates in 3 or 4 years, like 10 generations, things like that. So you can have products that have like a problem with a pretty serious problem, and that don't get updated for a long time. So anyways, X-Mid tents are like going to have some cool updates in the next few months. And then the X Dome that just came out, that's our freestanding tent. That's pretty obvious where we're headed with that. Like we're going to flesh out the lineup and it'll look like the X-Mid lineup. So there's the 1+ size. There's obviously going to be the 2-person. And then we're going to have that with a solid fabric interior that everybody wants in Europe and people want for winter in North America. So the X Dome will be fleshed out.
Okay, so we do Patreon trips with our podcast. We typically do a couple a year, and every time we do a Patreon trip, like we're pulling people from sometimes outside the country, sometimes across the country, whatever.
Do you have to pay them to come on these trips?
Pay them. we just bribe people. Yeah. Yeah, it's like reverse Patreon, basically, for sure.
I heard you're coming. I heard you're coming this year, Dan.
$100 a day if it's with Carl, but if you're along, it's $500 a day.
Oh my
That's
gosh!
awesome.
I just feel every time you make a comment about me, Dan, I just feel like they're like reviewers are just gonna be like,
I know you can take it with a beard like that. I can tell you, you're taking it.
He's good. Anyway, the point of me saying this is that every time we go, we're getting a variety of folks, and Durston gear is always a part of it. Somebody has something that you've produced, essentially. So, but for those that haven't yet invested in any sort of Durston gear, where can they find you? Where can we go get this stuff?
Yeah, we're less kind of conventional in the sense we have a few things. Like obviously we have a website. I think our website's really cool because we don't have a lot of products. When we do have a product, it's something I've thought about for a long time, and we have a very rich product page that like explains it. I like to think that even if you're not going to buy our product, like let's say you're not going to buy the trekking poles, you're kind of skeptical about them or whatever it is, but it's still kind of interesting to like read the rationale for them and be like, that's cool or that's dumb or whatever it may be. But I think our website's pretty interesting. And then Instagram is a good place. If you want to just like dip a toe in a little bit, Instagram's good. We just post every week or two. We usually try to keep it pretty interesting. We actually just kind of post when there's something to say instead of just like we got to post every day. If you want to dip in deeper, then you got the Facebook group. So we got almost 14,000 people on the Durston Gearheads Facebook group. Wow. That's awesome. Like it's a fun community. I think some people on the outside get a little creeped out because it's like it's a cult and all this. It's just like. It's just an inside joke. But we have had a few people get Durston tattoos.
Ben won't be joining.
I'm not sure. I think we've had at least 2.
I'll try to join and see if like they kick me out.
Yeah. We do have some standards, but we could see how it goes.
I can see why like there's a new host every time Dan's interviewed. Like,
I don't know if you're making.
You might. There's a chance.
You know what, Dan? I don't know if we're gonna interview you again. I don't know about this either.
We're not because he's the new guest host, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Cut to next week, and I'm there with Carl and giving somebody else a hard time. So the Facebook group's a good one for like that. Like it's fun to be involved. Like we got our next domes that just arrived today, and so I'm on there like, hey, look, and there's like pictures of like boxes of tents, and it's happening. You just like get a little more on the day to day, and there's so many people that if you have a trouble with anything, like how's my pack fit or my tent pitch or whatever, like 20 people are going to answer you right away. And then aside from that, I'm kind of on a lot of the web forums too. It's not really somewhere that people can plug in, but I mean. I'm very kind of passionate in the communities, the Backpacking Lights, Reddit, Facebook, Ultralight Facebook groups. Just I'm sort of all over the internet talking, nerding out on gear.
For sure. Okay. Well, we can definitely link the socials, and then of course the Durston Gear website. We'll have that in our show description. So if people want to check out all the awesome things you're producing, they can do so. But hey, Dan, seriously, thank you so much for taking the time. Always an honor to have you on the show. And thanks for putting up with all the nonsense we threw at you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. It's awesome being here.
Fun.
Yeah. Enjoyed it.
All right, man. Always a pleasure to have Dan Durston on the show. I know it's your first time meeting him, so what reactions you got?
Well, I think the first one, Carl, is am I still going to be a co-host?
Oh, because he was joking about that?
Yeah, he was joking, right? I think
you were concerned that that people weren't thinking he was joking, right?
That's right. I was nervous that like after reading Stephen Smith's reviews about the tent and the following Durston has, they kind of were a little harsh with him at times, and I'm like, great. Thanks. Now I'm a target. So you're welcome, Stephen Smith. Yeah. I'm taking the bullets off of you and onto me. So, yeah.
Yeah, he was obviously joking around. He's just messing around.
Right.
He was bringing it, man. He had me rolling a couple times with some of the kind of the dry like sarcasm he was throwing in there. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. I was not prepared for that. But no, what else I liked is his knowledge was just incredible. The way he was explaining tent making and that, like he has a passion for it, which is what you want from somebody that does gear.
Right.
If you don't have that, like even his enthusiasm for like talking about gear that like, oh, well, they have 9 grams. We don't want that.
Right.
Let's get it down lower. And I just never thought about like gram weight of glue.
I know glue passion was definitely something I learned from this conversation. And I feel like I know more about glue, and I appreciate that. And now I understand why, yeah, why you can shave a little bit here and a little bit there, and just kind of thinking through some of these things. And so I think the deal is like he's thinking like an ultralight backpacker because he is one, and what he's suggesting, he's not picking on any one brand specifically the trekking poles, but what he's suggesting is that people are like they're still making good products, but they can simply be easily improved upon if you think from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, now I want to just get some trekking poles and be like, how much grams do you guys use in this one?
Like you want to ask the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. What's so let's pretend I'm the manufacturer. Let's do a little role playing here.
Yeah.
And you approach me. Yep. We've established some sort of rapport. So you feel comfortable asking me a question. You get one question, Ben. Yeah. What are you going to ask?
I'm going to turn the lights down, have a single light bulb above your head, and just be like, Carl, how much glue do you put in your hiking stick?
Your hiking sticks. You're gonna yell.
Sorry, I got caught up in the mud. Yeah. Okay. And my hands would slap the table. I'd stand up, intimidation, and just ask, how much glue do you guys use in your trekking pole?
Yeah, and you feel like they would have the answer ready to go.
I feel like they'd be terrified and probably just be like, I don't know, and they'd probably like throw out some number, like 10 pounds, and it's like, whoa, what?
So okay, I would say that for me, the low point of the conversation definitely happened immediately with, again, first question out the gate. Like, I don't know why is this hard? I don't understand why this is a hard thing, Ben. Can you explain to me the scenario here?
What question? Verify what question. Was it the office when I asked him what room he was in, or the follow-up question?
That was fine. Yeah. Like that was sort of fine. Yeah. Like that's definitely fine for the YouTubers because they can see what he's in. Like, and you described it so then everybody who's listening, they can understand what you're referencing. So that was fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your question in, and then we're going on. Okay, like now.
Yeah.
Let's dig in here.
Yeah.
But no, I'm gonna interrupt. I'm gonna throw out a second question, but with my second question, which actually was a good question, by the way. Second question, I am going to pre-scold him and warn him, you better stinking not go on and on about your answer.
Well, I wanted it short because in my mind, Carl, I know what you're going to do. Is like, you can't, just like we're doing now, you'd be like, hey, Ben, next time you ask a question, let's have some parameters. You can't make fun of me. You can't have this happen. And can you make sure it's an answer that's going to be quick? We don't need the guest talking for 10 minutes about one random question.
That wasn't a parameter.
No, I feel like that would be if I didn't preface that with a short thing like, hey, I know I just met you, Dan, but can you keep it short? Like, I think you're going to get long-winded here.
That's what you did. That was terrible. I was like super offensive.
I know, because if I did, he probably would have talked. Maybe he would have told the whole story. Yeah.
Okay, so behind the scenes, I gave Ben 3 parameters for his intro question. All right. So I said that, now I'm like on the spot here. So I said that it can't cause confusion. Like, he can't be like, wait, what are you asking me? I don't get it, because it's like some sort of inside joke. And so the second one kind of has to go with that. Like, I don't want you using the question to make fun of me because he may not get the joke. And again, it's going to cause confusion. And then I don't want you to cause any sort of like awkward answer where he's unsure about what he has to say because he doesn't really know what you're asking. Right. So I think your first question
it feels like was
good. Your second question was good, but there's 2 questions, right?
Well, I told you that my first one wasn't my real question. That was just like, where are you? Because it looked like he's in a laboratory classroom. So it looked weird. Like,
okay, but that's so what you're saying is you're trying to like establish some rapport and get to know him. But like we did that. Like we already.
No, we didn't. The guests didn't. They're like, who's this guy? Why is he sitting here? And why is there 2 pictures behind him? So I thought maybe the guests would like to know.
You get one question. You get one question. What's your question? In your mind, you're like, well, actually, I'm going to parlay that into 2 questions.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. All right. Well, I would just say like you're not allowed to ask the first question anymore because it's going to cause. Like at some point, somebody's gonna get mad at you, and even more mad than threatening to take over your co-hosting job. But I'm like, but it's like one of those like dumpster fires or train wrecks. You're just like, I just kind of want to see what happens.
Let's see where this goes.
I don't want it to be a dumpster fire. I don't want it to be a train wreck, but that's where it's gone. Like the last 4 times in a row.
Oh, only in your mind, Carl. Only in your mind has it been bad and dumpster fire.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let us know. Let us know if you're. Let us know in the comments or wherever you are. Am I overly judgmental about Ben and his first couple questions, or am I on target here? What do you guys think? Any other takeaways?
No, that's the 2 I had. I'm afraid to talk now. So yeah, what?
No, you're not. No, you're not.
What was your takeaway? Do you think he's gonna come out with a glove all of a sudden, or something else? Steal another one of your ideas?
Well, based on last year, he won't come out with like the tool glove. He'll come out with some other kind of like cool glove inspired by us, and then he's like, "Yeah, I always had that." In the works."
That's been there for a
I don't know what
while.
he was talking
Yeah,
about.
so we'll see.
Right. I don't know. Yeah. It is interesting because like he's kind of all over the place, with the gear he's come out with. Like you just never really know. So it's a kind of a surprise.
Yeah, I liked him. Gearhead. It was cool.
Yeah. So you got trivia for this one?
I do. Tent trivia.
Tent trivia is coming up right after this. The trail is calling your name. Are you ready? Are you really ready? Our good friend Rowan from Summit Strength can get you trail ready. Rowan uses rock-solid evidence to design a specialized training program just for you. There are plenty of cookie-cutter programs out there that will get you only halfway up the mountain. Make it to your adventure summit with Summit Strength. The link to your success is always in our episode description, but you can check out all the information you need at summitstrength.com.au/online. It's time to be strong and pain-free for your next adventure. All right, so Tent Trivia is brought to us by Teton, and I was actually poking around on the Teton website yesterday, and I came across their trucker-style hats. Are you a big hat guy?
I am. I wear them all the time. I got a new hat on
Like trucker
today.
style?
Yeah, got a new hat on today, and
Okay.
yeah. Are you?
Yeah, I'm a big hat guy. Not what I'm teaching, obviously, but I like wearing hats, and I wear them when I'm hiking. I wear them when I'm running. Blocks my head from the sun, and yeah, they got a cool one. They got a cool one that I think I might try to get.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, check out that plus all of the budget-friendly, high-quality backpacking gear, TetonGear.com. So, all right, you got tent trivia. What you got?
All right. Are you ready for this? Tent trivia.
Yes.
The Hyperlight Mountain Mid 1. Do you know how much it weighs? That's not my question, but it would help if you
I
did.
don't.
You
No,
probably
I have
don't.
no idea.
Oh, okay. So, which one weighs less? Or
Okay.
what weighs less than this 10? All right. You got Cheetos Party Size Puffs, 4 Peak Refuels, 1 quart
Okay.
of Backpacking Blistered bagged water, or me with an anvil.
Okay, so let's see. So you get the quart of water weighs 2 pounds. So I'm gonna say no. The party size probably weighs close to 2 pounds. Maybe on that one. Not the anvil. What was the fourth one?
4 Peak Refuels.
I'm gonna go. 4 peak refuels is like 6 ounces ish a piece. So 24 ounces. I don't know how much the tent weighs. I don't know. So what you're basically asking what's the lightest of these items, right?
Yeah, that's what you do to me, Carl. So that's what what I decided to do for you. How does it feel?
It feels good. I like it actually. I like it a lot.
Okay,
I'm
good.
Go with the 4 peak refills.
Oh, that's incorrect. It's the Cheetos Party Size Puffs.
Okay.
And I forget. I didn't write down what they weighed, but they were like
Okay.
I think
That's a
6.4
great
6.4
trivia
ounces or
question.
something. Yeah.
Don't even know why that's the right answer. Nice. Okay. Go ahead.
No, I had it. I just didn't write down what it was. All right. Who is the famous tent maker of the 1800s? You got Joshua Purdy Brown, Phineas Barnum, Bailey of Bailey Circus, or L.L. Bean?
So there's Barnum is one answer, and then Bailey is a different answer. Is what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
I don't know. I don't ever buy LL Bean stuff. I don't know anything about that. That's the only one I recognize as a tent maker. I think I don't even know if they make tents, but I guess I'll go with them.
No, it's Joshua Purdy Brown. He made the tent famous. He actually, I don't even know if he was a famous
Okay.
tent maker, but he just made the tent famous because he was the first one to do a circus.
Okay. So you don't even know if he's a famous tent maker, but that was your question. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to word it differently because it's actually like which one was the famous for using tents, and it's actually
Okay.
that guy.
All right. Well, it's good to reword it after I got it wrong. That's
Who's-
good timing
who's
on
a
that one.
serious
Go ahead. Third question.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I'm just doing exactly. I was like, when I'm doing trivia, I usually do it easier, but I'm going to do it exactly how Carl does it, where I'm just like throwing
You
out
should.
nonsense.
You should definitely change questions and modify them after I've answered. That's how I do it.
All
for
right.
Sure.
Are most tents single stitched, double stitched, half stitched, or no stitches?
Well, they're definitely stitched at the seams. So I'm going to say double stitched.
Oh, you're correct. So you got 1 out of 3.
Good thing I didn't go over. But thank you for the informative
Yeah.
trivia ultralight question. Okay. All right. We got some updates on the giveaways. So one of our giveaways was the Teton tent, and I didn't think through this well enough. This is my mistake, where I said you had to leave a review, but I can't respond to reviews on the Apple Podcast app. So I want to, so anyway,
Yeah.
can you just, this is terrible. So it's like now it's a two-step process. So I feel really bad about this, but if you could just follow up with some comment somewhere, socials, YouTube, email, that you were the one that left the review. Even if you don't win, I'll send you something. So it'll be worth your while. And then we'll update who won after that. I didn't want to do the drawing until I got everybody's name officially. So I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, there's that. And then you got a shout out, right?
Yeah, shout out to Rowdy Hiker. Back a while ago, we had a Mission Impossible request where we challenged him to do some things, and Rowdy Hiker had his son pack his bag for an overnight excursion. So he had no idea what was in his bag, left it to his son, and then went out, did a backpacking trip. So shout out to him.
For sure. Yeah, you can check him out on YouTube, and drama ensues for sure as a result. So it's actually, he did a really good job with that one. So yeah, thanks for playing along. Really appreciate you. And we have a new Patreon supporter. We've got Jonathan from Indiana. So Jonathan is actually somebody who is hoping to go backpacking somewhere in the Western Mountains. And he's looking forward to what we got in store for the future Patreon trips, which those should be out anytime now if they're not already out on Patreon, because we want to throw some dates and some things your way for those that are interested in that. And so thank you so much for supporting us and being part of the B&B family. Last thing, after we close out, we haven't heard from Rocky, our good buddy, the perpetual overpacker, but one of my best buds. Love the guy. And he has a reaction to the Timber Cleghorn episode, which is definitely one you should check out if you haven't checked that one out.
That was a fun one.
That one is worth your time. So he had a very strong reaction to that one.
Very much.
So we're going to close out with that. Ben, you got anything else?
No. Just remember, if you're not trying new gear, you're not trying anything.
That's right. The age-old proverb. Thank you, Ben. All right. Have a great week, everybody, and God bless.
I want to fly around the world.
B&B. Hey, it's Rock. Hope everybody's doing well. Just calling in because I actually called in, I sent in an MP3 because of Timber's episode. Oh, my word. Timber, brother, what a great episode. Praise God for how, just genuine, how genuinely you just talked about your relationship with God. What incredible stuff the Lord's having you do. I mean, just that line where you said, hey, God, if you can use my life, just please do. That type of thing. And I just want to encourage the whole B&B. Think about that. I mean, what better way to live your life than for the God of the universe? What better way to spend your time on the trail than to talk to the one who made that trail and to talk to the one who made everything that you see from the trail, the epic views that you see from that trail. We're all made by, this awesome God, Yahweh, who sent his son Jesus to die for your sins. And so, Timber, just thank you for that interview, man. That interview and that episode really blessed a lot of people, man. And praying it just blesses tons more. Timber, God bless you. Everybody else, God bless you. Let's go get them on the trail and in the football field, everybody.